Well, finally, I'm going to try and fix this autofill system that I had built, the one that blew out on me. I've got these. And these were a suggestion from Gil's Fish Room. Gil, thank you very much. And this is the third try. They come in 3 sizes, and I needed the middle size, obviously. But I had first bought the small size and then the big size, had to return them both. So we're going to give this a try, and then we'll see how it works. Let's see if I can do this one hand. So here's one of the clips, and they sort of ratchet together, almost like zip ties do. All right. And so slide it over, open it up, slide it over here. And you can see this little bump right here. That's the ridge in the barbed fitting. That's the barb. And then it's a matter of starting. Probably should have done the other one. Just get that first little clip going. I'm hoping you heard that. And then let me change hands here. Pair of cheap pliers. And then squeeze. Let's get you can hear that. Squeeze it right on down, and that should keep this poly tube from blowing off from pressure like it did up there. So I'm going to go ahead and do all these, and then the next time we'll try a water test, see we blow it all apart again. And then I'm only going to do this on the water fill side, not the drain side, because this is under some pressure. I got to make sure in the future though that, and I didn't have the pressure up very high last time when that fitting blew that I just showed you, but I'm only going to do the incoming side. The outgoing side, like these drains, I mean, the only pressure, there's no real pressure in it. It's just gravity fed. It'll create a siphon, so you know there's virtually no pressure in there. So there's no need to put the clamps on this side, the outgoing side. All right, so I got all those nylon clamps on, and I'll tell you what a giant pain in the butt. If you can see this one, the jaws don't line up, or the inner jaw is lower than the outer jaw. So I've got to get a pair of pliers in there and push them together. So these things are a giant pain in the ass to try and put together, especially if you're in a situation like this where you're doing it all by feel. You know, if this was all laid out on a table, on the tailgate of my truck when I started this, then these things would be all right. If they're right in front of you like this, they're okay. But any other time, they're coming in kind of on an angle with each other, and they pop out. And they keep popping out, and then eventually they kind of strip. So I ran out. I miscounted. Well, I got 50, and it turns out I needed 52. So fortunately, I had a couple of these old stainless steel worm drive hose clamps. So I used those for the last two, and they are so much easier. Oh my God! Now, if these blow, and I found a couple that were separating at this point that had pushed out down the line there, and that one blew, and that's what started this whole process with these clamps. I'd said earlier, Gil suggested these kind of clamps, and like I said, in an easier open situation where you're working right in front of you, where you can clamp these things in a straight line, perfect. But for something like this, it would have just been easier to go with all the stainless steel hose clamps. And if they blow, if anything blows here, I've had enough people ask, why didn't you use PVC? Well, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this whole son of a apart and put PVC in, because this, I thought this was a good idea. It seemed like a good idea at the time, and I can leave the drain set up because there's no pressure on it. It works, sorta. I think what I'm going to need to do is get a pump and hook a pump to this end that draws the water out, because these low tanks, there's so little gravity to push the water out. And you really kind of got to pull it out and then up and over and then push it out. So I think maybe a small pump that's not a submersible kind, that just will sit there on the floor, hose end, like garden hose end on both ends of it. So I can get a little short piece of garden hose with hose fittings, for this end to go into the pump, and then the other would be the garden hose going out to the lawn. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. This is kind of not a great fit right here, but this is drain water coming out of the 229s on this side, so I'm not worried about that blowing. But anyway, I think I got all these in now, and what a giant pain in the ass that was. Oh, and I'm missing another one. I'm missing one right there. So I was missing 3. And I've got another hose fitting, or another one of the stainless steel worm drives that I can put there. And that's a way easier application. And I'm confident about those. I am not confident about these nylon ones at all. So anyway, I just wanted to get that far with it. Now with the worm drive ones, you do have to open them up. Now, if I started this application without them, I could slide them right over the hose, but you got to unscrew them all the way so they open up like this, and then that's got to slide over. Let's put you up on there so you can see what's going on, and hopefully the light's not too bright. No, it doesn't look bad. And so then, got to open this up, stretch it out over. Now, let's see, what do I want to do? I want to point it so that way I got a good angle on the screw head. They're hex heads. You can use a screwdriver. I like to use nut drivers. I think they're just easier. And then redirect the one end back into the worm drive area. You got to hold on to it and start screwing. And it'll catch and thread. And it's a sure. These are sure, S-U-R-E, right? Sure. And you can snug them down pretty well, and that's not going to go anywhere. I'm pretty sure that's not going to go anywhere. Right now, I do not trust these. That would be the last straw. Would be to go PVC. If these nylon clips start failing, I'll take them off and put all stainless steel in. But if they hold, yay, it's done. And it took me, God, I don't know, about an hour and a half to do all this, maybe closer to 2. And it would have been a lot quicker with the hose clamps, the stainless steel worm drive hose clamps. They would have just been quicker. It would have been a much cleaner, faster operation. I got to put a couple zip ties back in places to hold these hoses where they were, but beyond that, it's a done deal now. And then we'll fill it up and see if it doesn't blow fittings. Sure hope not. So, like I said, there were a couple that were on the verge of being blown, and fortunately they didn't go. That one went up over the shelf, got everything wet, that back half of the garage. But I think we're all right. So, more to be revealed. Well, this is the trial run. So that valve, where's my finger? Right there is on. Garden hose coming in, and I've got a garden hose ball valve. And those are garbage, and they got those little thin hose washers. It was leaking all over the place. So I put a decent hose washer in there. And remember, that goes up. Right, where's my finger? Let's do that again. So here we go. Remember, that goes up. All right, and then it forks. 2 on this side, 2 on this side. Now we're talking about the fill. So we go down this side, and it extends at the end here up. Get my finger out of the way. Let's try that again. So it comes down to this corner, this L, 90, and it goes up to another 90, goes across, and then back there, and that's where it blew. And remember, I got all those little nylon hose clamps, I guess is what they are. And again, I would never do those again. If any of those blow, I'll go with the stainless steel worm drive hose clamps, because they're a lot easier. These, they've got to be right in front of you to make them work. But anyway, I got water coming out of it. So now, and this is just test, and I'm filling this tank because I'm way behind on water changes, and partly because of this mess. And partly because I'm just really that disorganized. Regardless, what I'm doing, or what I'm gonna do when this is full, instead of shutting it off there, I will shut it off back at that hose valve. I'll shut it off there and just let this drain out. And I'll shut off the blue valve right above the hose valve, that first valve in line, and hopefully that'll keep most of the water in line. I'm guessing it's going to leak like some of these others. Let me show you one of these others. These are the Home Depot brand, I guess, the Dig. Look at that thing. It's like it's running, and it's off. I opened it and shut it again, and it just runs. So these, don't buy those. They're garbage. If you're going to use drip valves, maybe look for Rainbird, or I don't know, whoever else makes real live drip stuff. You know, I'm going with Rainbird next time, if I were to ever to do that again. But if I have to end up redoing this whole mess, what I'm going to do is PVC. A lot of people suggested that. That's what I'm going to do. We'll just go that route. So anyway, so when I do this for the water changes, from now on, what I'm going to do, instead of shutting it off with the pressure, just, you know, in case another one decides to blow, hopefully it won't, I'll just shut it off down here at the hose valve first. And then when I'm all done, I'll shut it off there at that blue valve that goes up and over. So anyway, that's kind of the way it's at right now. Well, so I thought just for the heck of it, I'd throw an outro on the end of this one. I didn't have one prepared. I was editing it, and it looks like it just sort of ended. So, you know, a couple things. First off, thanks for looking. And I think what prompted this also, I'm in the middle of writing a review for these valves on the Home Depot website. That's where I bought them all. I bought all the parts, just homedepot.com, and had them, you know, ship it because it was just easier than trying to go to 2 different stores to get everything I needed, maybe 3 different stores here in the Coachella Valley. It's just, it came over 2 different orders, all the parts, and then I ended up having to order those nylon hose clips from, I think I got those from Amazon, and that took 3 tries because I ordered both sides and then the middle, and that's the one I needed. You know, it's just, it's a work in progress, I guess. It works, sort of. I'm not thrilled with those valves. I expected quarter turn ball valves to be a positive shutoff. I did not expect them to be running while other valves are open, just, you know, just leaking. It's not what you expect. Especially, you know, they're supposed to be drip irrigation valves. And if you stick those out in the landscape under pressure, and they're probably going to be under pressure I don't know where you'd use those in the landscape, because typically you would have, I'm thinking about this. Can you see the smoke? You'd have an irrigation valve on a timer, maybe, just a traditional irrigation valve, and then that would open and that would flow water through all the low volume drip stuff. Regardless, you know, I don't think these should be leaking when they're in the off position. That just does not make sense. It's going to be running all the time if there's any pressure, and drip's usually rated for 30 psi or less. So, and I did not look to see what the ratings are for these valves, because I didn't expect to use them at higher than 30 psi. I was thinking probably closer to 20 psi. So I gotta go back and look at that just for shits and giggles, really. That's my 2 cents on this whole thing. It seems like it's working now. I put the garden hose, you know, attached the garden hose down there and turned it on low. And, you know, I've got all those clips on, ran out of some of the nylon ones, used the stainless steel ones. Like those a lot better. They're a lot easier to deal with. And in the process, backspace on that. So after everything was buttoned up, I hooked up the water. I suggested that I would just manage it from the ball valve on the end of the garden hose. So I opened that, and I think I had one of the valves open over the far end of the big tank so it doesn't build with air pressure, because that'll blow stuff apart. So that'll let the water out, and then just start going back and forth opening valves. And then when it's all said and done, the valve I shut off first, again, is the one at the garden hose. And that way the whole system's never under real pressure. It's just water flow. But I can still manage tank to tank that way. So it works. It works. Would I do it differently if I did it over again? Yeah, I would. You betcha. I'd probably do what everybody else was thinking. Why the hell didn't you just use PVC? I don't know. I really can't answer that, because I thought about it originally, because I'm really familiar with PVC and it's just damn easy to work with. And I use all just PVC ball valves, you know, the regular traditional plumbing type ball valves for PVC, like you'd use in irrigation, putting a sprinkler system together, not low volume. Anyway, enough of a rant. So again, thanks for looking. I really appreciate if you stuck around this far. Hopefully it's not too long of a video. And we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.